risk and regulations. So 2.2.1, analyze the balance between the innovations and regulations in the AI Act. So you need to think of making things possible. You need to ensure there is a promotion of human-centric AI. The focus should be on creation of unified European AI market. You should also support for SMEs and startups, regulatory sandboxes for the safe testing. Now the next thing is how you can make things safer. So if you have to make things safer, you need to ensure there is a ban on unacceptable AI practices. There is a strict rules for the high-risk AI system. There should be protection of fundamental rights and privacy. The fundamental rights impact assessment has to be done properly. So these are the ways by which you can make things possible, and you can think of making things safer by having a proper balance between innovation and regulation. 2.2.2 explains the general purpose AI, systemic risk, and code of practices. So the general purpose AI basically have broad usability across various sectors. It is adaptable to various tasks. Example of this is your LLMs, your image recognitions, or your systemic risks. So misinformation or disinformations and the kind of biases and discriminations, the kind of environmental impact it have, also the kind of code of practices which is being used. So we have to look into that. So the kind of transparency and documentation which is required whenever you are referring for the code of practices. The risk management framework, which is RMF. So you need to refer to the risk management framework as a part of code of practices. Human oversight is always important, and the element of sustainability consideration has to be looked upon whenever you are referring to the code of practice. So you need to think of GPAI. You also need to think of systemic risks and then how you can implement the code of practices for managing those risks. So 2.2.3, identify the implications of the AI Act on the intellectual property rights. So the AI Act provision imparting IP. So the transparency obligation for the AI generated content, requirements for the data usage and licensing in AI training. So disclosure of copyrighted material in databases, challenges to the IP rights. So AI generated content and authorship debates, use of copyrighted data in AI training. We need to ensure anything which is deepfakes or infringement, these can be the risks pertaining to the AI data. So we need to ensure there is a safeguard and compliance put across for managing those risks. We need to have the clear labeling of AI generated content. That is always a mandatory disclosure on the data source for the AI training. We need to have enhanced transparency for IP holders to claim the rights. So these are the three elements of AI provisioning. So you need to ensure that the AI provisioning impact should not be impacting IP. We need to take care of the kind of challenges which are arising out of AI IP rights. And we also need to ensure there is a safeguarding and compliance which are there in place by clearly labeling, by clearly disclosing the source, and by ensuring the transparency to all the users. So 2.2.4, explain the benefits and drawbacks of using open source model versus closed source model under the AI Act. So let's talk about the open source. The benefits pertaining to the open source is transparency and community collaboration, faster innovation and adaptability, lower cost and accessibility. So these are the kind of benefit which you find when you are using the open source. The drawbacks are the high risk of misuse, challenges in maintaining the compliance with the AI Act, transparency and safety standards, difficulty in enforcing accountability. Now let's look at the cloud sources. So the benefits are it offers a greater control over safety, security, and compliance. There is a easier to ensure adherence to AI Act requirements. There is a stronger IP protection as well. Drawbacks: there is a limited transparency and explainability, slower innovation due to the lack of external contribution, higher cost and limited access. So we have discussed and explained the open source and closed source vis-a-vis their benefits and drawbacks. So now let's discuss and understand the AI provider obligations, conducting the conformity assessment, maintaining the documentation, and notifying the regulators. So conducting the conformity assessment. So you need to assess the AI systems against the AI Act requirement. You need to identify the right set of risk level. So perform the internal or third-party evaluations for the high-risk system. You need to maintain the documentation which is required. Prepare the detailed technical documentation. Maintain the records of system design, development, and testing. You need to ensure the traceability and transparency. The third important thing is notifying the regulators. As a part of notifying the regulator, register the high-risk AI systems in EU database. Notify the market surveillance authorities of compliance. You need to report any kind of serious incidents or any malfunctions. You need to continuously post market monitoring and updates. Explain the implications of accountability and compliance. So if you see the accountability, which is the right hand side lower circle, so the AI providers and deployers are basically responsible for the AI system's behavior. Obligations to ensure the transparency and traceabilities. So there has to be clear assessment of liability for harm caused by your AI system. Your ethical and legal responsibility for AI decisions has to be looked upon. Now let's talk about the compliance part. As part of compliance, we need to have adherence to the AI Act's legal and technical requirement. We need to be conducting the conformity assessments and maintaining the documentation. You also need to ensure the AI systems meet the safety, transparency, and fairness standards. There has to be a continuous monitoring and reporting to the regulators. The last is purposes. So together accountability and compliance can be used for the purposes. So we need to build the trust in AI system. We need to ensure there's an enhancing user protection and safety. We need to enable the legal clarity and reducing any kind of risks, and also encouraging the responsible AI innovation.